Hey everybody, welcome. So this is Core Stable and Strong. This class is not about getting a sweat. This class isn't about getting your heart rate going. This class is about creating a super strong, super stable center of your body. So we're going to work from the shoulder to the hip. We'll use some limb extension to increase difficulty, but really the goal here is to find those core muscles and to fire them up. So you move at your own pace. Everything will be timed. So you just, even if you get just one rep done in that time that we have set up, that's great. So we're going to start with a basic warm-up. So I'm just going to have you march in place, and we're going to warm up our entire body, just getting things, moving, getting the blood flow a little bit. So the main four core muscles are our diaphragm, rectus abdominis, our internal external obliques. We're also going to work on getting the QL and the multifidus firing for us. Lots of muscle names. You don't need to worry or remember them. Just know that they're there. All right, we're going to add a little gentle twist. So we're just taking our hands across the midline. So once we start doing this twist, I want you instead of to think about just flinging yourself, really think about taking that gentle twist through the midline. So you're thinking about that muscle activation across the body. Squeezing the glutes as you tap a toe is also going to really help. It doesn't have to be fast. It can be super slow. Now we're going to reach up to the corners of the room. As we reach, you'll feel a stretch through the side body. That's good. Make sure you're breathing. We don't want to hold our breath for any of these exercises. Good, come back to center. We're just going to do some hip circles. So, I never could do the hula hoop as a kid. I don't know why. I've tried it again as an adult and I'm terrible at it. So, this is our slow hula hooping. Other direction. Nice, slow, gentle hula hoop circles. Good, coming back toward center. So let's take an R opposite. So I'm going to take my left hand and my right knee. I'm going to take them across toward each other and then extend back out slowly. So this is part of our warm-up. If you want to, you can leave that leg out. If it feels okay for you, you can find that balance. The point of this is to start to move slowly as if we were moving through mud or through water. Not through air with very little resistance in it. We want to move nice and slowly. And do one more. Good. Pause and hold. And then extend back out. We'll switch to the other side. So this time, right hand, left knee, comes across, and then toe taps. Arm extends and pulls in. Don't hold your breath. You don't have to use yoga breath. That's my go-to. You don't have to do that. I just want you to make sure that you are, in fact, breathing. All right, one more. This time we will hold, not holding the breath, but holding that twist. Good. And then release. Walk it out, maybe a few hip circles, just to create a little movement in those hips. So we're going to make our way down to the floor, and we're going to start, continue our warm-up with some bridges. So even though our glutes aren't technically core muscles, they're the closest big muscle group to it. So press through those heels. We're going to lift up into our bridge, and then just slowly peel back down. Just lifting up and down into our bridge. Now, if you have a block or a stuffed animal or a ball, you can always hold that between the knees as we go into our bridge. But it's an optional piece of equipment. You don't have to use it, obviously. The point of that is just to help activate the inner thighs, which engages through the pelvic floor. And that pelvic floor is attached to everything else throughout our core, and that helps create that strong, stable core. Good. One more. We'll just lift up and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice. Release yourself all the way back down. Draw those knees into the chest. We'll do a few knee circles, massaging the back, massaging the low back especially. Other direction. So as we move through these poses or exercises, make sure that you aren't holding your breath at all. So we're going to flip over, and somebody else needs to be let in really quickly. There we go. So we'll flip over onto all fours, knees under hips, wrists under shoulders. And we're just going to do some shift of those hips side to side. So we're stretching out through the hip. I noticed that one of my hips and I, we're in discussions. Let's put it that way. The other hip seems to be nice and happy and fine. I really think it goes back to the way that I sit. I don't sit with my legs extended out in front of me. I tuck my legs underneath me all the time. And so I think one of my hips is being overly utilized because of that. Come back to center, round that back, and then just rock forward and back. So it's like you're in a big cat stretch. As you rock back, you might feel some stretching in that low back. Be careful. And then as you rock forward, you'll feel some release through the wrists. Just back and forth a few more times. And then come back to center, find neutral. All right, so we have 3 rounds of exercises. We might have a bonus round. We'll see if we get to that. We're going to actually start today on all fours, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. All of our work is in 45 seconds, and then our rest period is 15 seconds. I have a timer here. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but I'll indicate when it's time to start and stop. So we're going to start in dead bug, so lying on our backs. And so for round 1, we won't start just yet, but I want you to think of the muscles you use when you are going to throw up. And I know we've all done it. It's disgusting. I hate it, but it's a part of life, unfortunately, right? So those muscles of, we're going to do that. So activate the, and then all we're going to do for this first one is float the heels off of the mat. So when you're ready, let me start it. Oops. Here we go. So activating, activating, activating. I'm pulling just my heels a centimeter off the mat. Now my low back is staying pressed down into the mat, and literally my body is shaking, okay? If you have that block, you can hold it between the knees. You can hold it between the thighs. You don't have to. If this is too much for you, you can just lift one heel at a time off of the mat, okay? So we're not holding our breath. We're just holding this exercise for 10 more seconds, okay? My hands are pressing down. My core is active. And I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. Whew, this is hard work. So this is our dead bug 1, exercise 1. Good, whew, release down. So up next, we're gonna go into the bridge. So if you need to, walk your feet a little bit closer. Feet are hip width apart. Knees stay in line with hips. So we don't want our legs splaying out. We want to keep them engaged. So let's start. Press the heels in. Slowly peel up. Press, 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 press. So once we've found bridge, I want you to squeeze one glute muscle. And then see what happens if you can lift one foot just a centimeter off the ground. Try and keep both hips pressing up to the sky. You may not be able to lift one heel at a time yet. I'm just lifting to the ball of my foot. I'm not lifting my whole foot off the ground yet. So I'm just lifting to the ball of my foot. My glutes are staying engaged. My hips are staying lifted to sky. My hands are next to where my hips were, and they're pressing down into the mat. So this may not feel release. Go ahead and rest. Woo. All right, so we're going to flip over on all fours. Same activity idea through the core, as if you were going to vomit, okay? You're going to activate through that core, press the hands and the shins into the mat as if you're going to leap off of the mat, okay? You're not actually going anywhere. So we're just pressing shins, pressing hands. It's almost like you are ripping the mat in half in all 4 directions, that you are holding the earth up, your atlas, you're holding the ceiling up, the sky up, sorry. Make sure those wrists are underneath your shoulders, knees are underneath your hips. You've not rocked forward or back. Not holding breath, we're just pressing everything we can into that mat. 3, 2, 1, release. Nice job, guys. Okay, so we're going to come up to standing and go back to that exercise we did in warm-up. So we'll stand on one leg, we'll extend the opposite hand and leg out to the side. So it's a twist, but I'm moving super slow. Go ahead and start with me. So I'm taking my left elbow to my right knee. Now I'm extending both arms out. If you'd like, that helps me with my balance. Balance is really core. It's really what it is. You can believe it. As I'm taking that twist, I'm actively using my rectus abdominis. I'm actively using, trying not to fall over, my internal and external obliques to take that twist. Feel free to rest at any time. 3, 2, 1, release. Good. So let's switch over to the other side. This time you'll be standing on your right leg. Your left toe will point. So, same idea. When you're moving, it's as if you're moving through water or through mud. Let's go ahead and start. So take either knee to elbow or arms out and across. It doesn't matter which one you're doing. I want you to focus on feeling that core muscle activate. Keep breathing. Don't hold your breath. So here's where that stability part comes in. Our strength that we have in the core lends itself to mobility, but without mobility, we really don't have that strength. So they really go hand in hand. They help each other. Nice, release. So I'm gonna lift this up just a smidge. So for our next one, we're gonna do an overhead squat. Now, a squat, you think it's legs, right? No, it's really hips, shoulders, and because they're connected in the center, it's our core. So not really holding anything, imagining holding something, we're gonna sink ourselves down to whatever mobility your foot stays in contact with, the mat will allow, and then stand back up. Join me when you're ready. This is super, super slow. This isn't fast. If it's too much for you to keep those arms extended, don't go quite as deep, okay? So you can go as deep as your body will allow while maintaining neutral spine, strong core. This requires a lot of mobility in my hips and in my ankles. I'm strongly pressing through my feet. We have about 4 seconds left. And release. Okay, that was round 1. Give yourself a big pat on the back. Feel free to do any stretches that you want to. So as we move through the next 2 rounds, notice how your body is feeling. Notice if you need to take yourself back to that first iteration. So I'll give you multiple options this next time. The next option is going to be a little more challenging, but remember, more challenging doesn't necessarily mean right or better. So you work with the space that you're in today. Okay, here we go, round 2. We're going to go through that same set of exercises. Dead bug is first. So, lying on your back, make sure that your low back is pressing down and that you're activating the core. Just that little bit is drawing the hips and the ribs toward each other, okay? Now, when you feel ready, let's start to peel those feet off the mat, maybe one, maybe other, maybe both, and float those legs up to 90 degrees. So here I floated. Go ahead and start and join me. My legs to 90. If you're not quite ready, that's fine. You keep your feet here. My hands, regardless of where I am, are pressing against my thighs. Now, the amount of pressure my hands with my thighs is entirely up to me, and my thighs are pressing back against my hands. I'm breathing, obviously because I'm over here chit-chatting, so make sure that you're breathing as well. Press, press, press those thighs away. You decide how much pressure. Give me 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Oh my goodness. That one kills me every time. Bridge is next, so exercise 2. Pressing through the heels, we'll do that same thing. Inner thighs are active, so the pelvic floor and all the way up through the diaphragm is working. So slowly peel yourself up to bridge. Now, press those hands down. See what happens if you can float one heel and foot off the mat this time. Those hips should stay nice and stable. So things that are helping me are activating my glutes, activating my core. My hamstrings are doing a heck of a lot of work here as I lift one leg and then the other. Maybe lifting legs isn't right for you. Maybe you're staying stable. My foot is simply hovering a centimeter off of the mat. That's as high as it's going. My hips are staying neutral as I can as I shift my weight from side to side. Good job. All right, bears. All right, so we're going to do that same thing that we did where we pressed our hands and our shins into the mat. My wrists are under my shoulders, my knees are under my hips. Go ahead and do that. And then tuck my toes under. And I'm going to lift my knees so that they're, I don't know, centimeter, couple inches off the mat. This is as far as I go. If this is safer for you, pressing through the shins, stay there. If lifting to this bear hold is okay, stay here. Breathing, not holding the breath. So as I'm staying here, it's that same idea of leaping and pressing my hands and my toes into the mat. My core is active. Give me 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rest. All right. So up next, we're going to go, you have the option of coming back to this standing one if you'd like. But we're going to go to a kneeling. So my right leg is in front. I'm going to take my left arm to the sky and reach it down. Now you can use both hands to reach up and reach down, reach up and across. So I'm rotating through the whole torso, but because my hips are square or stable, I'm having to take all of that twist through my spine. Now I could just do this all day and like throw my arms around, but I'm actively thinking of that twist. I'm actively lifting up toward the corner. So one corner of the room down toward the opposite corner. Moving smoothly and slowly. Nice. Let's switch to the other leg. Okay, so this time my left leg is in front. I'm going to take my right hand down and across. Or if you're feeling comfortable, you can take both hands down. Coming back up. So a couple of ideas or things to think of at home. If you have bands, you can use a band here. If you have a weight, you can use a weight. You can hold on to a ball. You can use a whatever you'd like. Or you can just use this imaginary space like I have. And I'm just focusing all of my energy on that core. Last one. Good. So we're going to go back to that overhead squat. So make sure your feet are just a little bit wider than your hips. Your arms are extended overhead. If this hurts your back, don't do that. Don't do that. You can just hold something imaginary in front of you. But that length, that lever, let's go ahead and start, is creating all of that work for my body. This is activating the whole posterior chain of my body. So my back muscles are technically part of my core. And if I don't use them, what happens? They get weak. They get stretched out because we have bad posture. And then my front of my core has to compensate. Bad news. I know that we sometimes feel that going past 90 degrees isn't safe for our knees. Only do this if it's safe for your knees. Only come to the, oh, that's it, that's time. Whew. Whew. Okay. So give yourself a rest. That was round 2. So up next is round 3. And on this third round, same thing as before. Step back to that first exercise if you need it. Maybe come a little bit, give yourself a little bit more. It's totally up to you where you go with this third round. Okay. So we'll start with that same dead bug. Okay. You have some more options this time, including a dead bug who's trying to get away. So he's not quite dead, he's just stuck on his back. So let's do that same thing. Engage that core. I'm just tucking my tail under slightly, pressing my low back down. Using that activity, float the heels up, and then bring those legs up to 90. So I'm going to start my timer. From here, I'm pressing my hands, and then I start to extend same side. So right arm, left leg. Right arm, right leg, sorry. Left arm, left leg. The hand that's still pressing is actively pressing. And then when the other one returns, it presses again. Good. So this is optional. That extension doesn't have to happen. But if you choose it, make sure as soon as you make contact with that knee that you reactivate the core. This is as hard or as easy as you want it to be. Oh, I don't know how it can be easy though. Shaking, shaking, shaking through my center. Rest. All right. So we're going back to that bridge. For me, bridge is a real challenge. I have, like I said, my hip and I are having some discussions. So I'm going to go to the static held bridge. So whenever you're ready, lift yourself back up. If you feel ready, maybe you just peel to one heel lifting at a time and then the other. Maybe you actually lift that whole foot off the ground at a time. It's entirely up to you. As I'm finding my bridge, I'm activating my pelvic floor, my inner thighs are working, my hips are lifting to the sky. I'm thinking about ripping my mat in half. So I'm pressing my body this way as my feet go that way. That activity right there keeps everything in line, keeps my core working. And release. All right, so we're going to flip it over for those bears. So this bear has a chance to be a baby bear who's crawling along. Same options exist where you're just pressing hands and shins, maybe tucking toes, hold here. Or let's go ahead and find the one that you want. Maybe you step opposite, so it's not same side. It's right hand, left leg, left hand, right leg. I'm just stepping forward and then back. Now the goal is to move without moving my torso, okay? That's where the real core work starts to happen. If you find yourself shifting from side to side, go back and maybe just move a hand or a foot. So we have 10 seconds or so left here. Move slowly and with 100% intention. 3, 2, 1, rest. Okay, before we move on to the next exercise, you need to find a line, okay? So draw a line with a marker, find it in your carpet or on your mat. My mat has kind of little lines in it, so I'm going to use them. So the great thing about this exercise is it seems like the easiest thing in the world. So my knee is going to be underneath my hip, and then my heel is going to be on that same line that I drew. So my heel, my toe, my knee, and my back foot are all in the same line. The trick here is to know how long your femur is, because that's how far you want your leg to be. So if you have a mirror, The other thing you want to make sure of is that your knee is truly over your ankle and your hips are truly over your knee. If I'm too far, it makes it easier, okay? A lot of chit-chat for very little activity. So here we go. This in and of itself, just finding this, can be incredibly challenging. If you're feeling ready, you take that arm down and across, and then up and open. If you feel that added movement is just too dang much, that's cool. You leave it out. What is happening here? Well, I've taken a lot of proprioception out of my body's ability to find stability. So I'm relying entirely on my core. All right? So this is a good one for you to check out, but maybe take a side view of and a front view of if you have somebody at home to help out to make sure you're truly in that 90 degree situation. Switch to the other side. Chances are there's little imprints left on your mat. Go back to where you were. Here we go. Come up. Let's begin. So we're taking that hand across and coming back up. Now, the challenge would be to do that with both hands, of course, which I didn't demonstrate on the other side. So I'm sticking with my one hand because if you're really in the right spot, even just finding this is really challenging. Boop, boop, boop. Good job, everyone. About 5 seconds left. Nice work. All right. Last exercise of round 3. We're going to go back to that overhead squat. Arms are extended. So we're going to do this last one together. I'm going to come down a third of the way. Hold here. From this place, I'm going to lengthen my fingertips up. And then on my next exhale, sink down to about halfway. Hold here, lengthen that spine, reach my arms. Good. Next one, come down 2/3 of the way. Lengthen, proud chest. And then come down to your full extension of your squat, whatever that might be. Lengthen. We're going to come back up together. 2/3. Hold here, lengthen. Halfway, hold here, lengthen. 1/3, hold here, lengthen. Stand all the way up, activate your core, glutes, belly back. Nice work, you guys. Good job. Okay, so now we have a bonus round. And in this bonus round, I want you to find the 2 exercises that were the most challenging for you. And we're going to work through those together. So I'm going to pick dead bug for one of mine. And then, so if you're choosing the one where you're aligned, the aligned lunge, you have to do one on each side, of course. So I'm going to pick the bear hold and the dead bug for my 2 exercises. Okay, so we're coming back to the ones that were most challenging for us. These were the 2 most challenging for me. So here I go in my dead bug. Ready? Everyone hips up. Hold. Oh, what am I saying? That's the bridge. Whatever you're choosing. So I'm finding my dead bug. I'm extending opposite limbs. Slow and controlled. This isn't about going as fast as I can. This is about controlling my movement. Now, for a bonus, I'm going to lift my shoulder blades off. If this hurts your neck, don't do it. So you find the one that works, that's working you in the way that you need to be worked. Pressing my hands into my knees, that's always the key. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice job, everybody. All right, one more exercise, whichever one you choose. I'm choosing that big bear crawl. When exercise, whichever one you'd like. If you're choosing, whichever one you're choosing, core is stable and strong. So even if you're just here, on the knees, on the shins, if you're in your bridge, you're finding those hips square and stable. If you're rocking your bear, strong and stable. I'm hardly moving my core. Might shift forward and back a little bit. Make sure those knees truly stay underneath your hips. That's how you keep this one challenging. 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice work, everybody. So we're going to stretch it out. We'll come up to standing, and we'll just do some basic torso twists. Basic torso twists. So that activation of core, that awareness of core, that's what I want you to take away from this class. Hands or shins, forearms to thighs. Tuck that tail around the back, stretch out the back. So that as you move into your TRX classes, as you move into your any sort of actual core movement classes, even in something as simple as power up, for example, you want to make sure that you are using your core to initiate the rest of the movements. Other leg, quad stretch. We'll plant your feet down, reach up and across. Other side. Come back to center. Let's take a deep breath. Reach your arms up to the sky. And then take your hands back behind you. Squeeze those elbows. Open through the chest. Make sure you're not tucking that tail. You're keeping a neutral pelvis as you lift your chest to the sky. Lifting back up, one arm across the shoulder. Now, it may not seem like we did our shoulders. We really didn't work on them per se, but they're big accessory muscles in our balance on the ground. Other side. So we're going to stretch out our hamstrings. You find the version that works best for you. For me, I'm going to tip at my hip, upper body supported on something, bend the knees, and then press my heels into the ground to lift my tail as high as it'll go. And then walking those hands back up. Feel free to take any final stretch that your body is asking for. Cobra is a great one if you're comfortable with that. Any sort of back work as well. So let's take one more deep breath for me. Really deep, breathe deeply. Exhale, release everything. Thank you guys for a wonderful class. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you have an excellent rest of your day.